Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Mark Cook, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Mark, your family has such a long history in Wilkes County. I mean, you weren't born in the 40s, but your people were.
Yeah.
And or before that, because your Cooks goes back a long ways. Mm-hmm. Tell everybody who you are and a little bit about your family history.
A little bit. Okay. So, obviously Mark Cook, third generation for Cooks Incorporated, which we're having to use Cook Sports a little bit more because we get orders for culinary stuff every so often, and we have to clarify that no, this is legit sporting goods store.
Right.
But actually, when we started out, we weren't. My grandfather partnered with Bob Kite in 1946 to open B.F. Goodwrench, just the general store.
Right.
He was driving an oil truck during World War II. I think his parents had a general store at Union Grove, the Crossroads, and how he transitioned from driving an oil truck to owning a business, I have no idea. But the partnership with Bob Kite, who I think was manager of Rose's at the time, I think was a good partnership for him. Of course, my grandfather did have a college degree, and I think all his siblings went into the medical field or the military, and he went into retail.
Now, was the location then the same as it is now?
Absolutely not. So we were on B Street, which B Street, which is Main Street
in North Wilkesboro,
next to Rain Drugs.
Okay.
I think he started out with one storefront, and then later on he had two. I'm honestly not sure if he started out with both or not, but I feel like they expanded. My favorite tidbit about the history is our phone number was 53. When we opened. 53. So people ask if we've been in business for long, and I'm like, well, you had to pick up and ask Mabel to connect you with 53 when you called the store back in the day. But it was, and in fact, I was able to find our grand opening ad as a Christmas gift for my dad one year.
Wow.
And we did automotive appliances, furniture, with the tires, and tires in the tires in the appliances, were in the game plan but weren't available yet when they opened. All the manufacturing hadn't shifted over yet from the war.
Oh, I see.
One part of me is like, right after, 1946 he started this business, but the world was shifting, and it probably was a very good time to get into the, people went so long without having those items available, and all of a sudden, they had the income and the resources and had years to catch up.
That's something, Mark, that a lot of people don't think about. And we're very fortunate now that we maybe don't have to think about it because we don't have that, war-type footing that was going on then, which changed America dramatically. So people who were working in factories and making things, everything had to shift. Those resources were shifted to the war effort. So we're blessed that we don't have that right now. But it was a time that as your ancestors started their business, there was that shifting. So that's something that we don't have a great frame of reference to now, do we?
No. We got a little taste with COVID, and that was,
Right.
But the country was working together for a common theme, and that was nice to see.
So your people were right there in that process. Nice.
And they just grew from there. One of my favorite stories that, again, heard, I guess, right before my dad passed, but I'd never known growing up. But, we were one of the earlier companies, and there were a couple others around that carried TVs.
Okay.
And, downtown North Wilkesboro was a bustling little area. But people would come out and stand in the street to watch TV.
Oh, wow.
Outside, watch it in the window. And that's, I think, sort of a neat story with a little bit of the history of what the world was like.
Sure.
Before you carried it around with you, all day long, every day.
Sure. We take a lot for granted now.
Yeah. So another part of the history that I really love that I didn't realize, in the late 60s, my father, graduated from Carolina, had come back and started working with my grandfather. I always thought my grandfather bought out Bob Kite, and Dad started working for him. My dad actually bought out Bob Kite to truly become a partner with my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
In the business. And so I just thought that was a neat thing. And where he got the resource, how he did that, I have no idea. But he was weighing going back to get his MBA versus invest in the company, and he was able to truly become a partner with my grandfather.
So were things from the business, was that really a pivotal moment of growth when your dad came in?
In a couple of ways, yeah. Mm-hmm. My dad started bringing in some sporting goods and was growing that a little bit. And of course, they renamed it, incorporated, and to Cooks Incorporated. 1974, my dad moved from a little building on Main Street down to the new, latest, greatest shopping center, which was West Park at the time, in a 30,000 square foot building.
Wow!
In 1974, and my grandfather thought he was just insane.
Lost his mind.
And he wasn't. He wasn't coming. And that size building was not. I mean, you look at Rosa Sky City. I mean, it's not like that was. But for a little local store, that was a big building.
Sure.
But my grandfather was just, no, we're going to stay up here. And after about 3 days, he called my dad, and we'll pack up and be down there next week. So it turned out to be a really good move, and it turned out, for us. The economy has been through a lot of changes over the years. Right. There was a point where West Park was desolate. I'm elated with what the Health Foundation has done with West Park now.
It's miraculous, isn't it?
God. I mean, we're so blessed.
To go from I don't know if abandoned, right? It just
close enough.
I mean, it just timed out, right? And then everything went away, and then I guess it was abandoned. And then to have this thing that's there now that services the entire community, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. It'll never go away now.
No, it's an amazing asset. And the Health Foundation is an amazing asset for the community.
And you're right there. You're right there beside them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as we've gone through the different areas, if my dad hadn't, it's the different areas, the different just ways of the economy, good, bad. I mean, it all comes in cycles.
Transitions.
He paid for that building as he went, which you couldn't do now. There's no way.
Sure.
And I think how hard times have been at some moments, and we didn't have a rent or didn't have a mortgage.
Sure.
And we looked at moving up 421. Especially when nothing else was down there.
Right.
It's like, what would we have to sell to pay for a rent or mortgage? Right. We'd have to triple, quadruple ourselves. And it's been a blessing to have that facility, to have the space down there, the foundation that my grandfather and my father laid for us. There's years we've gotten through because of the investments that they've made and the safety net that they were able to give us.
It's a way of thinking, isn't it? That idea of generational wealth and transference, and in this case, the business, that was the inheritance, right there. That was the value and the foresight, oftentimes, that our grandfathers and great grandfathers had. Truly set the stage for an incredible future if we're mindful not to let it run away. Right? Yeah. Were there moments when you had to decide when you took over and you're like, wow, this isn't easy, or had you seen it enough to where you're like, yeah, we can do this?
Both, every day. It's there's a lot of back information to explain why I think the way I do, I guess. Right. But, I joke sometimes that any sane, CEO or accountant would look at what we're doing and be like, just what are you thinking?
Yeah.
It's like we probably do everything wrong. I don't know. But sort of my philosophy here lately, I was thinking one morning about how many people I have that work for us, which is over 50, which you wouldn't think down here. Because a lot of people don't know what we do. And really, I was thinking, I don't know if they work for me or I work for them.
Right.
A 9-to-5 job where I can get up and go to work and go home and not stress.
Right.
It sounds attractive sometimes.
Right.
And honestly, I probably make more money in a lot of them than what I do with this. But the people I work with are why I get out of bed.
Right.
It's what we can build together, what we can achieve together, watching the high school kids grow up in our business.
Right.
I don't know why that makes me emotional. It's like every time I talk about this stuff, I get. But I've got kids that went through high school and come back and work their whole careers with us. We've got people who have as much ownership, or in the business as I do. Beyond blessed that a lot of our guys take that kind of ownership. A lot of my guys could go make more money somewhere else.
Right.
But they're as invested as I am. And when you go back and ask the question, do I think we can do this or what? I've been fortunate enough that everything I get involved in, there's been amazing people around you. And that's what makes everything, to me, not only possible, but worthwhile.
That's right. The reason to do it, right?
If we had a wildly successful business and it was all online and you weren't really working with anybody and you were, that doesn't motivate me. It's watching these kids grow up in the store or watching all of us get better at what we do.
So you've seen firsthand the effect of young people working with other young people and older people, just that blend of people. Yeah. And you've watched people grow and become, I guess, what we like to call productive parts of our society, of the community, and giving back. And it's not always about the money, it's about the people and the talents and the time. So I don't know that you can put a monetary value on that, can you? I mean, the way it makes you feel, I mean, it's visceral. We see it happening now. That's a huge payment. Mm-hmm. Do you find that your people, you see, I mean, obviously you're working together, so do you see that same emotional payoff for them as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously that's why people are there working with us. That's why people are so devoted to the store. If I didn't have some of the managers, some of the people around working with me, there's no way I could do it or would want to do it.
Right.
You don't hire a kid that had a paper route anymore, or mows yards. Right. I mean, this just doesn't exist, and they just have to be shown and then have to care. But there's so many great kids out there.
Don't you think that we're all a product of our time?
Yeah.
We were all born at a certain time. We can't do anything to change that. And whatever time we were born in, that's our reality to grow from, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're born in the 80s, you're never going to have that experience of standing on Main Street watching the TV, a black and white TV through a window because you don't have one at home. That doesn't exist at that time period. It's way beyond that. And I agree with you a bit, Mark. I don't buy into the big separations of ages just because you were born at a certain age and you're spoiled or you're this or you're that because you've got this technology. You don't think the other way. You can't change when you were born. Mm-hmm. So we just go from there. So it sounds like you've tapped into that reality or just walking through it together with people. And I'm guessing the outcome after a period of time, doesn't everybody kind of mesh together and kind of go in the same direction to a degree? To a degree. And that's sort of your goal. There's a culture at our store, and part of my job is to set the culture. And, really, we have to make money. We've got to make payroll. We've got to feed the people who are there. But if that's your goal when somebody walks in the business, that's a short-term goal. You may be successful, but you're only going to be successful for so long. Right. And so the first goal is just to build relationships. And, you take care of your employee, you take care of your vendors, you take care of your customers, and it should pay off in the long run. Right. And if it doesn't, I don't want to do it. Right, sure. It's my grandfather, hands down, was the stingiest human being I've ever met in my life. Right. And, he got a $5.60 pension check from Esso, which is Exxon, for the rest of his life. And I swear to God, that check made him happier than about anything else going on. And he would take me to lunch with that check, and we would go to McDonald's, and he'd feed both of us on that check. Right. And I had to sneak back in and get some more food when he wasn't looking, because even then it wasn't quite. Right. But that's how stingy he was. And my father was a close second. Mm-hmm. He loosened up a little bit more on some things, but their stinginess, of course, paid off for us. But watching my father talk
customers out of buying something was an eye-opening experience for me when I was growing up. And I'm like, one of the stingiest human beings that I know just taught this customer out of buying something and told him where to go buy it.
Wow.
And I was like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, that wasn't right for that person.
Huh.
And yeah, we sent him away today, but we'll have a relationship for the next, for the rest of his life.
Did you see that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just...
He was like the Macy's Santa Claus, wasn't he?
We went back with my daughter and watched that, and I was like, oh, this isn't a new concept. I was like, oh my God, that's what Santa was doing. But it's just about building a relationship with the customers and building a trust that we're going to sell them the right thing. And sometimes it means we're trying to talk them into something more expensive because that's what they need.
Right.
But it also has to make sense in their budget. And, our bicycles are... our introductory bikes are not inexpensive. I mean, I can't even buy a bike as inexpensive as what you can get at Walmart.
Right.
But the quality's different.
But it's a different thing.
And if somebody's going to ride twice a year and they can't afford it, go get a Walmart bike. I mean, that's what they're disposable. That's what they're meant to do. There's a lot of kids that have bikes because Walmart can do it at that price point.
Right.
But if you're going to go ride and actually use it, then let's tell you why it's worthwhile.
Right.
But it's finding the right thing for the customer to help them be successful in whatever sport or activity or going out and hanging out with friends on a Friday night. Just how can we help you match that up and find the right thing? And it's a long-term, I don't want to say plan, but philosophy.
Right.
If
you don't plan on going anywhere. You're here to stay.
Right.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
Mark, you have so many things that we'll share, and we don't have to do it all today, but I definitely wanted to get the history down and get an understanding of where you are now. But where you are now, as I would imagine your father and your grandfather, you do more than just serve at Cook's and the people they work for. You're also president of the Merchants Association for North Wilkesboro. What is the Merchants Association, and how does that serve the community?
There's a group of us that get together, and I'll say work in our businesses. It's not always about business, but we have a Friday morning meeting where we just sort of brainstorm, and sometimes it's totally left field stuff, but we do try to discuss our businesses and what's going on. I think not terribly different than my grandfather walking over to Bring Drugs to have coffee back in the day. And we were just talking about things that needed to happen downtown. And there's some great organizations already. I mean, I'm really good at drawing blanks when I need that, but the Downtown Partnership. Right. And Taylor's leading that up right now, and I'm excited about that. And that's from people across the community that can contribute to the downtown area, but it's not a business focused. It is, there absolutely to help downtown be successful. But we got together and said we need something that is business success, focused. And I think there was an organization sometime in the past, but we were kicking around the idea of putting something together. And around that same time, Rob Thornburg came into my office and he's like, you know what? They're not going to do the trail of treats this year.
Okay.
I was like, what? He said, yeah, Samaritan's Kitchen. They put so much into it and they just don't have the resources. They're not going to do it. And I was like, we were just talking about bringing something else to downtown. And so I mentioned it, I was like, well, let me make a few phone calls. And I think Rob was very supportive, but he also didn't think it could happen that year. So, well, maybe next year. And I'm like, no, if we're going to do it, it's got to, or we'll lose the date and we'll never get to do it. And sort of somewhere in there, I don't remember all the details, to host it by the merchants, we needed an association to buy the insurance and, become a group. And so they sort of happened together. And we did because of the people that were involved. We were able to pull off the spectacular for this year, and we had no idea what to expect. And, oh, my God, it was insane. So
that was how the Merchants Association officially became formed.
Very much tied together, yes.
This is a Mayberry story, of course.
Yes. So, and we're brainstorming what does it need to look like. And you can do a North Wilkesboro Association, do a Wilkes County.
Right.
But we really wanted to be the downtown. And I'm not downtown.
Right.
But I felt like to be effective, it needed to have a focus. And we want to do things to bring in business across the board. But it does help to have a a little bit of a focus on what we can do and bring those businesses back, or bring more business back to downtown. And so we just try little projects together. We're trying to meet monthly. We have dues paying members, and we have I guess you'd say associate members with the like the art gallery, the library,
Sure.
Police department, the town, just anybody who wants to come have input, and then to vote, you have to be a dues paying member. We're still a fledgling organization. We haven't changed the world or anything yet. The Spooktacular has been our biggest project.
And how many years now for Spooktacular?
This will be the third one
The
coming
third
up in
one.
October.
This 2024 will be your third.
Yeah. So we're still
Right.
figuring things out as we go. And again, these amazing things came together, and I got to be a part of it, but nothing would have happened if it wasn't for the other guys
people.
involved. I mean,
Right.
it's
So it's the community as you're coming together,
absolutely.
right?
And isn't that when things just tend to work the best? I mean, it's
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's that idea of collaborating and doing something with friends is wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Talking about doing something with friends. So there you are over in the health mega center of the county, right?
Yeah.
And you have your Merchants Association activities. But you've also branched out into the entertainment world and theater, and with another business person that's come to the area with absolutely no limitations, it seems, and that's pretty exciting for downtown, isn't it?
I didn't have enough chaos in my life.
Right. I was getting ready to say,
and we joke it's the worst financial decision we've ever made.
However,
so yeah, we had the opportunity.
Perhaps most popular of all public resources is the theater, where all age groups meet in search of their favorite pastime. North Wilkesboro can boast in the Liberty Theater, one of the latest and most modern in western North Carolina.
Yeah, with COVID and everything going on, and the owner of the Liberty Theater, his health wasn't where it used to be, where he could travel as easy, and Junior Ayers, who has managed the Liberty, to me is a Liberty, was concerned about his future.
of course.
And he reached out to the Merchants Association, or me and Mick. So Mick Zupo, Mick and Ainsley, and my wife, my wife Lonnie, are all equal partners in it. And
so how did the two of you meet? Because he has the block.
Probably because he showed up at our business, our small business advisory council, or whatever we call our Friday morning meeting. But he came in at the block, but I think he came by the hardware store and sat down with us one morning. And again, out of that little, next to the stove at the hardware store, a lot has started at that stove, believe it or not, with Richard and Angie. I believe that's probably the first time I met him was there, and we got to know the family, and we've had our Christmas parties at the block, and just they've taken care of us. We've tried to take care of them when we can. They're obviously very involved in the community. Our stories, I think, are sort of the perfect mix. I grew up in Wilkes. Of course, I moved away swearing I was never going to come back until I realized the value.
Right.
I think it's healthy. You need to. You don't appreciate it as much as somebody who's moved here because they chose to, because of what they, you need to leave and come back and see it.
One second, why you said that, because that's such a common thing to happen. But what was it? What was that moment? So you moved away, and there was something drawing you back. There was something that said, hey, Mark, you might want to go back there. What was that thing?
There were several things. When you grow up here, anything bad you think is because it's here.
Right.
It takes a lot to realize that it's everywhere. It's there was obviously, I work for Lowe's. I'm very grateful for my time with Lowe's and what I learned, and it's helped me. And that's why my dad didn't want me to work for him right off the bat, which was fine with me because I was going to get out of Wilkes and not do retail. And then I went to work for Lowe's. But there was a couple things. There was my dad. He was working 7 days a week. He was, just absolutely nonstop, wasn't getting a break. His, I don't know official title, but the main buyer, the person that he leans on the most, had been sick or out, and he was just. And I was interviewing for operation manager with Lowe's. I was an assistant manager, and by no means was I ready to be an operation manager. I'm not even sure I was ready to be an assistant manager, but it was for training, And in my naivety, whatever.
Naivete.
Thank you.
It.
See, that's
it.
But
you've got the bikes. I've got a few words. That's
okay. But I was like, I don't want to go move up any farther in the company and then leave. If I'm going to leave, I need to do it now because how will Lowe's going to replace me in a heartbeat? That wasn't. But there was a thought with Lowe's, if it was a good time to depart, if I was going to. There was the need that I saw in the business, and now the affection for Wilkes that I was starting to develop again and thinking about a family. But my mom took me down to River's Edge when I came back to visit. There must have been 600 kids out there playing soccer.
Wow.
And all I could think about is, okay, this little town's alive. There's stuff going on. There's a lot here. And just seeing I guess, I don't know, soccer necessarily falls in an outdoor economy with the whole project there, which is another exciting mission that's going on. But it was just all that life that I saw and the kids out there playing, and I ended up coming back and coaching soccer for almost 20 years out of that as well. But yeah, just that life, that community, that thought of growing old with friends and not transferring every few years for promotions.
So that's what did it.
And being able to come back and contribute and work with my dad, which only took us 10 plus years to figure out how to do that, maybe 20, I don't know. That was interesting, and we had to find our way and find how to, Well, at
least you were coaching and doing something productive while all that was happening, right?
Yeah. I missed that. I left because I was missing my daughter's activities because she danced. Okay. Both my girls played soccer for a little while until they realized that they were doing it because they thought I wanted them to and not because they wanted to. Right. So they would do their other things. And one day I'm out coaching a game and Maya's in Asheville at a competition. And I'm like, I love these kids, but I'm missing mine. So that was pretty well the end of my coaching career. And then when I had time then to do other things, of course, now I got involved in so many other, and I think they're both important, but being able to do the merchants and spectacular and some of these other things, I've got to learn and grow, and so I feel like maybe one day I'll have some stuff figured out because I don't yet. But I'm thinking if I keep doing these things, maybe some point I'll
sometime you'll find the groove. Well, it sounds like you found your ebb and flow. You're doing different things.
Still learning.
Yeah.
So
isn't that a Wilkes County tradition, though? If you look around at the people that have businesses here, your own family, just think about it. Everybody you talk to. There's a bit of that.
One of the most chilling moments in my life, I was sitting in Italia's, which is one of my favorite places. And they had a video playing in the background. And it turns out it was Progressive Wilkes, which Pumpkin Creek Productions was that. I don't know if that was Neil Ferguson was involved in that.
Okay.
I don't know where
back in the day, right?
Yeah, but I think he was involved in bringing it back to DVD, not the original, because it was filmed, I guess, in the 60s.
It had all the old scenes of downtown. Right?
So I'm just sitting there eating, and I wasn't paying attention to it. Didn't even know what it was, and it caught my eye, and I was like, "Well, that's sort of interesting." And I swear, I turned around, and then they walked into the B.F. Goodrich, and my grandfather was standing there, and he was selling a fishing rod or something. I mean, it just not even know that exists, and turn around and see my grandfather was, very moving and emotional.
For a variety of home appliances, gadgets, and devices that lighten the burden of household duty, thrifty housewives wind their way to the Carolina Home and Auto Store. Men like it too for its treasure of tools, auto accessories, and fine fishing equipment. Nationally advertised products at new low prices make this store a credit to the diversified businesses found in this well-rounded, self-sufficient shopping district.
But I've been thinking about that a lot lately, Progressive Wilkes. So that's sort of our roots. And one thing there's so much momentum, I feel like, in town right now that people may not see, because you can't focus on the problems that we have. And every community has their problems. But with, my God, the Health Foundation and the Outdoor Economy Project, I met with the EDC yesterday and everything they do. I had no idea all the
A lot of good things.
Yeah, there's so much going on in the background. And I'm really encouraged watching our three governments. I know that, well, you're going to have to figure out.
So we've got.
I'm excluding some other communities around, but watching, which isn't really fair, but watching, the town managers and the mayor in Wilkesboro and North Wilkesboro and Holly and Mark in North Wilkesboro and the momentum that we're getting there. But watching these guys collaborate in the county on both the EDC, watching them collaborate on the outdoor economy and work together as tightly as they are is really encouraging, and it's fun to watch.
I think it's probably, if you look from the historic perspective, it's never happened like this, has it? I mean, this is Mark's time, because you now are seeing the power of everyone working together, which is not only exciting for the community, but how exciting for people who are looking from the outside and thinking about, where do we want to move to? Where do we want to retire to? Where do we want to have a business? It's attractive for all those people now, isn't it?
It is, and that sort of goes back to Mick and Ainsley with the block. And, COVID brought them here, and they fell in love with it. And for their perspective, to see everything new and fall in love with it. And
there was no heavy sell for them, was it? No one was pressuring them or saying, hey, you've got to come here and we've got all these incentives. That wasn't it. They saw the opportunity, right?
Yeah. And my wife didn't grow up here, but she's been here a long time now as well. And, the affection that we have for it, the different perspective they have, and to be able to come together and work together. And then now I can say that I'm downtown. Right. Because I couldn't before. But, the Liberty is a little treasure for the community. And we're like, if we can put a little bit into it, and I don't think any of us could have done it, but we've split the workload 4 ways. Right. Really 5 with what Junior does, because something could be just going like just massive disaster, and Junior just sort of, we'll just do this. And I'm like, he takes keeping my blood pressure where it needs to be.
He takes care of the day. I mean, he's running the place, so that's exciting.
Yeah. So Nick's right there; you can never see it. Ainsley does social media all the time. Everything you see coming out is from Ainsley. My wife does all the booking. She does every single night of her life. She has to post the ticket sales of the day. I mean, it just doesn't stop. Right. And then I'm doing some of the bookkeeping, and then Nick's doing more of the day to day. But I'm stepping a little bit where I need to here and there to help out over there. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but if we can just keep a $5 movie, I am very grateful that Two Rivers is here. Sure. I don't know how many times we drove to Statesville when I was growing up. Right, sure. Or Jonesville. And I think it's a great resource for us. But I think we also need Liberty as well. I truly think we need both.
That's your history. That's the heritage. Yeah. That's the thing. That's the theater that's in that old film that you saw at Italian.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
That's part of history. Communities can handle both.
Yeah. If we can keep a $5 ticket and make it where families can go, and have a good time and not have to spend a lot of money, we'd love to do that.
And that's a good thing. Mark, it's been great talking. One thing to talk about before we take off, we'll do this real quick, and that's the incredible world of disc golf.
Oh, my God, yes.
And disc golf is something that's truly come alive in Wilkes County more recently than when it first started some years ago, but it's almost like in the past couple of years, it's really taken off, right?
Yeah, it has.
Talk about that.
Well, fortunately, you have a couple people who have devoted, heart and soul to make this happen. And then the Wilkesboro, Andrew and Ken Nolan and the guys down there have really, tried to make sure that we had a world-class course. Mm-hmm. And Rolling Pines is a phenomenal course, and that's coming from somebody who has never played disc golf. So, right. But there's a lot of foundational work from them and the disc golf club and their love of the sport and how they grow and promote it. It's like many things that I'm involved in. I got to sort of ride the coattails a little bit, I guess you'd say. But this group has been working for years to get an A-level tournament in Wilkes. We were able to help with some of the B-level, and we do some of the fundraising, which is my least favorite thing to ever do. But the B-level, you have more amateurs, and you might get 100 folks in. An A-level, you could bring in 300 players. you're starting to bring in pros and you're starting to bring in traveling pros. And so the guys have worked for years to get us to this point. And so now we have an A-level tournament, and the first year is not going to be massive, but we hope we can pull off a great tournament as a feeder to grow it, if we can get a good reputation. And that's sort of where Cooks has come in. We want to have like one of the richest player packs. We want to help people have the best experience they can. Brian and Shane from the Disc Golf Club, they're out there actually running the actual tournament, which I would have no idea how to even begin to do.
Right.
But again, it's a partnership. We've tried to have a triathlon or, a 5K or whatever where we're doing all of it, but it's so much more successful to partner with someone that's doing, and so it's been a great thing for us to be involved in. We really hope we can bring 300 people, 400 people to a 3-4 day tournament downtown.
And these are people that are coming.
Years.
These are people that are coming from all over the country, right?
Yes. As an A-level grows, you have more traveling pros come. I think as of this morning, we have about 40 pros that are coming to this, and some of these have their regular day job and they're at the pro level, just the skill with the level they've gotten to. There's several guys that are full-time touring pros that are coming. We grow this tournament. We increase the payout for the pros. Then you start having more and more famous. I don't know why I'm doing quite famous pros, because my ignorance of the sport. I get to help on the business side. I'm not.
Well, that's the exciting thing about this. It's new. It's exciting, and you're excited about it. Other people are excited about it. I spoke to someone a couple of days ago. I saw them coming out of the pro shop, and I said, "Hey, are you guys disc golf people?" I knew they were because of where they were coming out of. But they said, yes. I said, where are you from? Oh, we're from Yadkinville, and we're up doing. I said, well, how long you been doing it? The guy said, well, I've been playing regular golf for a long time, but had some kind of a problem. And he says, now I do this because I can't do the other. And I love it. It's changed my life. And his wife does too. But they said that they will travel up to 200, 300 miles to go to these clubs. So that's big.
I think we don't know the average, we don't realize how many people come and utilize the course here.
Right.
And then there's, for Hamby at the reservoir, we would love to have another course in Wilkes. So if you have, like right now, we have a 3-day tournament with the A-level, and we're going up to Ash. So we can help the economy hopefully a little bit in West Jefferson.
Sure.
But wouldn't it be nice to keep them all right here in Wilkes? So to get people to get heads and beds, to get not only to come to the tournament, and with a larger A tier, then with these pros, you have people who come to watch. Right. You have families that come and stay for the 3-4 days. Sometimes they come earlier to practice a course. And so you get all the traffic for people who had a good experience for a tournament and they want to come back again and spend more time here. But so often people don't know why these people are in town, and it's the disc golf that brings them.
Right. That's pretty exciting.
And we've been able to help with some of the fundraising, and we've put money into a scholarship that we did in my father's honor that we do in the high schools. I think we've done $32,000. We do a $1,000 one male, one female athlete based on sportsmanship and leadership, not high score. Right. And the rest we've put back in with the disc club, put back into the courses. Going back to town of Wilkesboro to reinvest in Rolling Pines, and we're not only trying to build the sport, but trying to raise money to put back into the facilities.
So it's the long game you're looking at.
As is typical, it seems like, but
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, with a man with 3 generations under his belt, or behind him, or in front of, wherever that is, you're doing great, Mark. It's awfully good to have you on Life in Wilkes, and we'll talk soon. We'll talk again because there's so much to talk about. We've got the outdoor activities. We need to talk about those magical bikes you have that just kind of power themselves, and all the water activities that are here. It's really surprising for people coming to visit, and they say, I had no idea there was so much here.
I don't think that necessarily people who live here realize what all there is to do here and what all is going on here. And it's anything to help educate and promote. There's walking trails that I didn't know existed, and I've lived here most of my life, so it's amazing the resources we have.
That's great. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.